How are you going to feel about the next event or Halloween when virtually every woman is going to be Alexandra?
I feel like we should all go to a convention together. Let's all have a photo.
Oh,
We
it's time
need
for
it.
Tresecon, you mean?
It's time for a Tresicon.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Comics Cube. Nikki is back with us, Nikki Zenin. Uh, you'll remember her from one of the Trese roundtables, and she's here to talk about cosplaying.
Hello.
How so? Why cosplay?
Why cosplay? Because for me, it's the best way to express my passion. I'm not a good artist in the sense that I can't illustrate. I can't write well enough. What else? I can't create another other things, but maybe I can make costumes. I can put on makeup. I can sew once upon a time.
So before you went into cosplay, were you already doing these things? Uh,
No.
so how did you realize you could make costumes?
Oh well, this is a funny story. When I was in my first year of high school, I met my best friend. She is Ayla. We were talking about mostly anime, Naruto, whatever we were in that moment. And during that time, she was already a cosplayer. She started in grade school. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, she did. And
Okay.
it wasn't very well known back then. That was around 2007. 2007, yes.
Okay.
She mentioned that there's this hobby that she's into, and she thinks that I'm the type of person who would be into it since we share almost everything. So she showed me her photos,
Oh.
and I thought, yeah, I can do this.
And then so how did you get started doing it?
We had this brainstorming session. What character should we do? Because we wanted to go as a group. Of course, we need a theme.
So how many were
So
you?
during that, we were just two and
Okay.
one of her cousins. And during that time, we were obsessed with Naruto Shippuden, so we went with Naruto. Uh, we we had a list of like we had a breakdown of her costume, her top, her shoes, what we need, and then we made this calculation of how much we'll spend, and we realized that we cannot afford the seamstress, so we had no choice but to hand sew them themselves.
How was that experience like? Because
It was
cosplay to me, I know nothing about cosplay. It always looks like a really expensive hobby.
it is, yes. During the time, I had very little allowance. I was not earning money. I was 12 years old, so
Okay.
imagine where I was. We went to Divisoria. It's this fabric haven in Manila. You can canvas for really cheap fabric there. So
Hmm.
we looked for the one we can afford. And since we had this basic sewing classes in elementary school, we had an idea of what to do. We thought it was going to be easy, but the top itself took us 1 month to hand sew, and
Wow.
that's just the top. And we're like, we finished the costume maybe 3 days before the event itself because everything was hand sewn, everything was glued together with our little hands.
So you went as which characters?
Haruno Sakura, and my best friend was Temari.
Okay. I'm gonna pretend I know who those are.
You don't watch Naruto, wait. I
No,
see.
no, no. Past my time. Uh between that first time, how many did you cosplay and create before you got to Alexandra Trese?
Oh, I started in 2007, and I first started cosplaying Alexandra at around 2015. So
Okay, so it's
that's
a
easily an 8 year gap.
yeah, it's an 8 year gap.
Yeah,
So
the meeting gap. Yeah. I was into Resident Evil, so I cosplayed Jill Valentine, Ada Wong. There's this Street Fighter character. I think her name is Malin. Um, what else? Those are the characters I remember. Those were my favorites. Monster Hunter, if you're into that too.
how do you decide which characters to cosplay? Is it just a matter of them being your favorites, or do they have to resonate with you on some emotional level?
Oh, most of the time they have to be the character I pick. Yeah, they have to resonate with me. Like it's this it's this exact moment. Like, mom, I want this one, this character. That's me. But sometimes you watch the series with your friends, or you play this game and you decide, oh, maybe you can do this character. I can do this character. You just for the fun of it, you just you can do this. You can do this.
You ever get into a group and then realize that um, the only character left is the one you don't actually want to cosplay, or have you always cosplayed whoever you wanted to cosplay?
Oh, it happened, yes. And like the remaining character, which ironically is also the character that suits me physically, is the one I don't really like. But hey,
But
between
who was that?
um, what was this? I believe it was Final Fantasy 12.
Okay.
Lebrew, yeah, Lebrew. She looks cool, but she's a minor character, and I didn't really know what to make out of her character.
You didn't like her.
I didn't like her that much, but hey, she looks cool. My friends were willing to make my props.
Okay.
Yeah, they
So
were willing to help me with everything. So
so you go
let's
in,
go.
you go to an event, and when you go into an event, how much of the character are you portraying when you go to an event like a convention?
That actually depends. In a cosplay event, you either choose to compete, like you go on a stage, you do this little skit. During the early time, it's just a dance number. Like,
Okay.
can you imagine being dressed as an anime character and you just dance the latest hit in the country? But over the years, it evolved into real skits. Like there are fight scenes.
So when
There's
did you
just
start? 2007?
yes, 2007.
So that was like nobody but you.
Yes, yes. Oh my god. Yeah, everyone and their neighbors were dancing nobody but you on the stage.
Oh my god.
It's always a part of a skit. That's all.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yep.
Yes, that's what happens. But over time, they evolved. Like they started making fighting skits or just acting skits, and they were more fun personally because I don't dance. I don't like dancing, and yeah, that's the first option. If you go there, if you compete, you go to the stage. That's how much you should portray your character. But if you don't decide to go up on stage, you just walk around with your friends. You just pose. That's easier.
How how does cosplay like make you feel? Does it boost your confidence? Because I, for one, I've never even dressed up for Halloween. I don't have that physical confidence, I guess. So what what does it do for you? Like what does it do for you? You know.
Yeah, I usually pick characters who are strong-headed, a lot like me.
Hmm.
So most of the time, I feel more confident when I'm all dressed up. Actually, generally, I feel more confident when I'm all dressed up and made up. But when I'm portraying a particular character who's pretty cool, my confidence is magnified like 100%.
100%. So that doubles.
100%. The doubles. Yeah, it's. I read somewhere that cosplay is a form of escapism. It's like
Mhm.
acting, something like that. For a day,
Yeah.
you're a different person. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I there's a whole TED talk about it that I find really interesting. Um it had to do with Spirited Away. I'll try to link to it in this video. So let's talk about Alexandra. 2015, that's 8 years. Strong personality, very confident. Is that so? It's no wonder that you gravitated to Alexandra, right? Is
Yes.
no one else in the did you even consider anybody else in the Treseverse?
No, I first cosplayed Alexander when I read the first five books. When we come to the fifth book, I think new characters were introduced, like Wari, the Wind sisters, but I didn't really resonate with them. So it's always been Alexandra since the beginning.
Okay. And so talking about Alexandra, can we get a little technical if somebody is, somebody goes up to you, let's say let's say 2007 you is manages to time travel to talk to modern you and asks you how you came up with what you're with what you're wearing. How do you do that? Like what do you say?
Okay, first of all, invest in wigs because during that time, early 2000s, wigs are not very famous. You either color your hair or you go out in your cosplay with your natural hair.
Mhm.
So when I cosplayed Sakura in 2007, my hair was colored with poster paint. So I didn't have any wigs. Wigs were very expensive. So if my 12-year-old me comes up to the current me or the version of me who cosplays Alexandra, I would first of all tell them to invest in wigs. Second, find a really good tailor or no seamstress. Find a good seamstress. Stop
Mhm.
hand sewing your costumes. They take up a lot of your time. Most of the time, they don't even come out good or
Really?
as good, yeah, as the others. Just imagine you're just hand sewing it. The stitches are not straight, and it takes maybe tries the time to finish.
Did
Whereas
you did you learn this the hard way?
I had to learn it the hard way for years. I didn't learn for the first 2 years. I cosplayed while with hand sewing in mind. Like there was no option to go to the seamstress. If I want this character, I have to sew the costume myself. That was my mentality for the first 2 years. And I just realized why do that? Why? Why do that to myself when I can just go to the seamstress?
That's interesting. Did you and then how do you come up with, how do you make sure the seamstress does all of the designs, the props, and what what goes into that process?
you you pick a lot of reference photos, you print them, and it's not enough to just show them to the seamstress. You explain what's going on in that piece of um clothing. Like this is not just a single stitch shirt. You have to make it double stitch or else it will rip. You have to explain those things. I don't want the zipper to be seen. It will not look good in photos. And you have to visit your seamstress every now and then to make sure that they're doing the right thing.
Ah, you have
Because
to monitor what they're doing.
you have to monitor what they're doing. Because before I met my seamstress, she was just sewing school uniforms. She didn't know. She knew how to sew, but for basic patterns only. So
Yeah.
I had to explain a lot when I first went to her.
How did she feel when you first asked her to, create costumes?
I imagine she was very challenged. Like if you look at us during the time, our eyebrows were like we were so confused with everything. She gets what I want to do, but when she's trying to execute it on her own, she finds that oh, this is not as easy as it looks. Meanwhile, I know how I want it to look. I don't know how to make it look that way. But
Mm,
over time, she was my seamstress for maybe 5 years. She got used to it anyway.
okay. What changes do you have to do? What is the thought process behind converting a two-dimensional line art drawing into a three-dimensional costume?
For me, I have to find similar real life clothing to that particular costume. Like for example, this Alexander coat is a double breasted coat. That's easy.
Mhm.
Patterns of that exist on the internet. But for example, I want something complicated. I'm trying to think of an example.
Let's say that a Mortal Kombat character.
Mortal Kombat. That's you have to do it piece by piece. You just ask your seamstress to make the inner clothing, but everything else is up to you because those are armor pieces, right? Those are not fabric. You have to buy a different material for that.
Hmm.
Either you pay someone to do it or you do it yourself. And during that time, there's not a lot of people you can pay to do
I
that.
I'm a boy and I have no idea what you mean by inner clothing.
Oh well, when you see, sorry, when you see, for example, what's an example of a character who's covered with like Mortal Kombat characters?
Or any, I don't know. Um uh, yeah, I don't know. Like, what's the most challenging one you've ever done? Let's go with that
It's
one.
from Monster Hunter. It's an
Okay.
all armor costume. It's made of hard pieces, hard heavy pieces.
So how does that
Uh,
work?
you have to wear something underneath, and parts of that clothing will show outside. Small parts of it. So, for
Mm,
example, I needed something long sleeved, something that goes down to my knees. That's a very basic piece of clothing. I can make my seamstress do that. But the armor parts, for example, I have to have a helmet. I have to have this shoulder pads, chest pads. I had to ask my friend to do that for me. 'Cause that's a different thing entirely. Armor making and costume is very complicated. I admittedly am not very well versed in that.
do you have a favorite costume that you've done?
My favorite character ever is Ada Wong. I made three different versions of Ada Wong over the past years. Those are easy cosplays because Ada usually wears either a dress, a basic polo, and leather pants. Those are easy to make by
And
the seamstress, not me.
how would you say you've improved in that span of time?
In the span of time. At first, I didn't know which fabric to choose. I go with the first thing I saw on the store. Maybe this looks good. This can do. I'll buy that. But over the years, I learned that oh no, this is not a good fabric for this. It has to be stretchable. It has to look good in photos. It has to have the same texture. If it's a leather piece of clothing, it has to be faux leather. It cannot be anything else. And also, I became more particular with how my makeup looks, how my wigs look.
Hmm. How long did it take you to? What goes into a photo shoot, and how long did it take you to realize what would look good in photos?
Mm, what goes on in a photo shoot? You before you go to that photo shoot, you pick pegs, character pegs, poses you want, maybe
Hmm.
screenshots of the series itself, and then when you go there, you find places where you can do it. If you're say cosplaying horror characters, you can't go into this open meadow location. That doesn't look very horror-ish. You have to go to say an abandoned building, a parking lot, and then you have to secure the permit to shoot in there. Or if you can secure the permit, you have to make sure that you won't disturb a lot of people.
That that sounds like a lot of extra work.
It's a lot of work, yes. If all else fails, you have to rent a studio because there's nowhere else to go.
I've said this many times. I've said this many times, even in the course of this show. I feel like cosplayers are the biggest fans possible because I don't think there are any other fans who put in that much effort to show that much love for their favorite characters. Do
Oh,
you what do you think of that statement?
well, I'm inclined to agree because I cosplay, but then again, I cannot draw. Uh, I don't know what goes in the drawing process, so maybe it's easier, maybe it's not as easy as it looks. Maybe it's as hard as cosplaying. But personally, cosplaying is very difficult. But I think it's worth it in the end. When you finally finish everything up to the last piece and you look at the photos and say, oh, this is what I wanted.
Does
There's a sense
yeah, go on. Sorry.
there's a sense of satisfaction there.
Does cosplaying cross into, other aspects of your life? Like, do you, does it give you added confidence for even after you're done cosplaying? Or, for example, did you ever think to use those skills to go into, to help you with work or something?
Well, here's the thing. My real life work, or what I do in real life is has to be you have to look unnoticeable as possible. You have to look normal. So when in cosplay, you want to stand out as much as possible.
Hmm.
But in my profession, you want to look as friendly, as harmless, as forgettable as possible.
I'm now really curious as to what it is you do for a job.
I am I am an investigator for a private security agency.
Holy crap!
So it's like
Are you sure you're
Alexander,
not actually Alexander Trese?
but the industrial version. So that's what I do for a living. I have
Do you want
to
me to edit that out?
not really. I didn't name my agency, so
Okay. Okay. Wow.
yeah, that's what I do. So when I started cosplaying in high school, admittedly, it gave me confidence in, say, when we have to take photos, graduation photos. But it's not a very well-known hobby. Your classmates will look at you weirdly when you're in high school and you put on wigs, you put on weird costumes. There was this bullying phase of my life because they thought it was simply weird to do that. So
People don't
things
get it.
change. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't get it. Kids do not get it. But when I went to college, it's a lot different. People are much more mature, much more accepting. There are more
Yeah.
people like me who's into the same thing. Actually, when I was in college, that was when I first discovered Trese. It was introduced to me by my college classmate. So when I first put on that costume, I had a different reception from when I was in high school and when I was already in college. They were much more enthusiastic about it. Gave me a lot of confidence.
What about the people around you in general? Like, what do they think? Because, like, what would you say the most common misconceptions are of cosplay, of
That
cosplayers?
that we do it all the time. That it applies well, outside the convention. We still cosplay. When we go out to have dinner with our friends, are you cosplaying? Why are you dressed up weirdly? Because when you cosplay, you put on different makeup than normal. You adopt that into your real life. You look like an anime character. You
Wow.
dress up, yeah,
They
differently.
they think that you do it all the time.
Do you think that we do it all the time? Like, are
Yeah.
you cosplaying someone right now? You're dressed weirdly. That's what I heard when I was younger.
Anything else? Any other misconceptions?
Oh, what else?
Because I'll
That
tell you right now, when I was younger, when we're talking like maybe 2002, 2003 here,
mhm.
in the early days of cosplay, I was one of those guys who was like, they're just doing it for attention. And then, you
um,
learn, if you're not an asshole, you learn really quickly that no, you're not just doing it for attention.
it's not that it's not just for attention. Actually, it's hard to cosplay when you're not into the character that you're
Yeah.
cosplaying. Like I mentioned earlier, if you just want attention and you dress up as a character who's just really famous and you're not very invested in that series or that character, I personally think it's not as fun.
Hmm.
You go out there in the event, you walk around, you pose, but you don't really know what to do with your hands, with your eyes, with your face, because you don't really know that character, and it's not as fun.
So, aside from being strong-willed, independent, and a private investigator, what aspects of Alexandra do you relate to?
Mm,
Do you also have two twins following you around?
oh no, I don't. Unfortunately, I would have loved that, but no. I think even though she has the kambal as her age, she tends to act independently.
Hmm.
She has four other siblings, but we rarely hear her ask for their help.
Yeah.
That's actually that's what I say in every job interview. My weakness is I cannot I cannot really sorry, I don't do well in teamwork.
Ah,
I
yeah.
do I do I work better when I'm alone.
Mm. Now, for me, do you also have a tito like Hank?
Do I have a tito like no, admittedly I'm not very close with my relatives. So
Okay.
I
Now,
don't have a
yeah, go on.
yeah. Uh I think that's the difference between Alexander and I. We don't have strong father figures in our lives. Like
Okay.
I tend to look at people as equals. I don't
Hmm.
like putting them on pedestals.
I just want to go back to our brothers for a bit. I just want, speaking as a fan, I see like a lot of people saying, I see a lot of people saying, I wish they would delve into her brothers more. I kind of
Mhm.
don't. I kind of want the series to focus on her. Like, are you on, which side do you fall on? We're talking fanish now. We're
I
talking,
want them to Oh well, I want them to elaborate what her siblings do, but I don't really want the series to delve into their independent stories. I like to think that the brother stories are spin-offs of some sort,
Yeah.
like they're bonus content for comic fans.
Yeah. That's
I
what I
agree,
feel too.
yeah. Like
Oh,
if they made a Jimmy centric episode, I wouldn't know where that would fit
yeah.
in the
Unless
anime.
unless it was a spin-off.
Yes.
So tell me what cosplay culture is like. What is what is the community? What is the community like? Is it competitive? Is it friendly? Is it familial?
I learned over the years that how your community would be. It all depends on you. It it all depends on which friends you pick in the community. If you want it to be as relaxed as possible, you stick with the people who have the same interest as you. My cosplay friends are my real life friends. They're the closest friends I have.
Really?
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
if yeah, if
Is
we
your best
can't
friend still your best friend?
high school friend, yes.
Yeah.
We don't talk much anymore because we're very busy people, but we can always rely on each other to help each other. If we need someone to talk to, we're just one call away.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, is it so? Is there any competition being done, or like let's put it this way: how many? We're seeing a lot of Trese cosplayers out right now, and there's a particular one that's really big at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when you see people cosplaying the same characters you're cosplaying? Do you go like, "Okay, that's a great cosplay," or do you go, or is there a part of you that's like, mm,
Well,
I,
honestly, when I was young, doppelganger cosplays were a big deal. Like if you go to a convention, you see someone cosplaying the same characters as you can't help but hear people compare you. It's not you, it's the other people that you hear. That are, oh, this one is better than that one, and you feel this sort of insecurity.
mhm.
Maybe when I was younger, but as I aged, I just realized there is no point to that. The characters I cosplay are not very commonly cosplayed. So whenever I see someone cosplaying that same character, I immediately think, oh, we watch her play the same thing. Maybe I can talk to her. Maybe we can be friends.
So now that you say the characters you cosplay are not normally cosplayed, how are you going to feel about the next event or Halloween when virtually every woman is going to be Alexandra?
I feel like we should all go to a convention together. Let's all have a photo.
Oh,
We
it's time
need
for Tresecon, you mean?
it's time for a Tresicon. I'm just very happy because how many Alexandra Trese cosplayers have you seen over the years? Maybe 4 or 5?
I think I've seen more in the last 3 weeks than I ever have
Over five
combined.
years, right?
Yeah, in the last several, ever since I became a fan, right? So,
It's so much fun to see like um very creative cosplays of Alexander. Like this the one you mentioned earlier, the very big one right now.
yeah,
I love seeing their photos because it has the anime vibes,
yeah. And
the colorful Manila vibes, the rowdy kambal vibes.
they even did Nuno.
Yeah, and even the Nuno. Oh my god, that was really
Like
great.
that's a really good Nuno.
That's the same person as Talagbusaw and one of the kambals, right?
I think
Yeah,
he unmasked he's both of the Kambals. And
right?
then
That's
yeah.
very great.
And then masked he gets some other guy.
Imagine the effort that went to that. I personally can't do that. Like I'm a cosplayer over the past years, like for over a decade now, but I don't think I have the energy to do that.
And I think he also said somewhere that he works out for these characters. Like if he's playing a bulky character, he'll work out. If he's playing a thin character, he'll tone down. I'm like, I
The
can't even bring
dedication.
myself to go to the gym.
Oh yeah, my friends do that. Like sometime in the past they did that when they still had the time. But my friends do that. Like when they're going to cosplay a fit character, maybe a character that belongs in the military, they really work out. They create this what do you call that? Plans
Hmm.
or routines, workout routines. They
Wow.
stick with that. They're very dedicated.
So would you say that cosplaying is actually beneficial for your health because it makes you take care of your body?
Yeah, I would agree. I would say so. Yes, it's not just your body, your skin. Sometimes you take your character and use them as your inspiration. It's also mentally uplifting. Yeah, if say Black Widow can do this, why can't I not?
It's very interesting. So tell me something for anybody who is starting to cosplay, aspiring to cosplay, is just curious about cosplay, leave them a message. Let's close the show with
Uh,
that.
yeah, if you want to cosplay someone, don't listen to everyone who says hindi bagay sa'yo. Kasi that's the most common phrase you'll hear whenever you
Really?
tell someone that, oh, I want to cosplay this character. Oh, it doesn't suit you. Just do this instead. Don't listen to them. It's all, at the end of the day, it's up to you.
Usually, what's the reason? Is it your appearance? Is it your height? Is it your personality?
The appearance and the personality. Like for example, I once mentioned that there's this huge, cute character that I wanted to cosplay. I wanted to dress up, and my friends were like, "Oh no, you're the opposite of chirpy and colorful. You know, maybe this
Yeah.
character will suit you instead." But just do it. If you want to cosplay someone, do it.
Awesome. Who was that character?
It's a blonde character from Tekken.
Okay.
Yeah, do you play Tekken?
Now I play Mortal Kombat though. So
I haven't played Mortal Kombat.
and yeah, I play Mortal Kombat and used to play Street Fighter, but not anymore.
When I had the time, yes, I played those.
Who are you cosplaying next when things open up?
When things open up, we have this planned Jujutsu Kaisen photo shoot with my friends.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with Jujutsu Kaisen?
I'm gonna say no,
It's one of the
but
hottest manga slash anime right now.
send me a picture
Sure,
so I'll be
yeah.
able to put it up.
Yeah, it's the
Awesome.
reason why the last name on my Facebook account is Zenin because the character I'll cosplay there has Zenin as a last name.
I had the suspicion that that wasn't your real name.
No, it's not. I
Okay.
haven't used it for a long time online.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. This was great. Thank you. I learned a lot, and
Thank you for having me as well.
good luck in the future.
Thank you.